Good day. I am Gislea Isalada, and this is my declamation in I Am a Filipino by Carlos P. Romulo. I am a Filipino, inheritor of a glorious past, hostage to the uncertain future. As such, I must prove equal to a twofold task. The task of meeting my responsibility to the past. The task of performing my obligation to the future. I sprung from a hardy race, a child of many generations, removed by ancient Malayan pioneers. Across the centuries, the memory comes rushing back to me of brown-skinned men putting out to sea, the sheep that were as frail as their hearts were stout. Over the sea, I see them coming, borne upon the billowing wave and the whistling wind. Carried upon the mighty swell of hope, hope in the free abundance of new land that was to be their home and their children's forever. This is the land they sought and found. Every inch of shore that their eyes set upon, every hill and mountain that beaconed to them with that green and purple invitation, every mile of rolling plain that view encompasses, every river and lake that promise a plentiful living and a fruitfulness of commerce is a hallowed spot on me. By the strength of their hearts and hands, by every right of law, human and divine, this land and all the appurtenances thereof the black and fertile soil, the seas and lakes and the rivers teeming with fish, the forests with their inexhaustible wealth in wildlife and timber, the mountains and their bowels swollen with minerals, the whole of this rich and happy land has been, for centuries without numbers, the land of my fathers. This land I receive in trust from them, and in trust will pass it to my children, and so on until the world is no more. I am a Filipino. In my blood runs the immortal seed of heroes, seed that flowered down the centuries in deeds of courage and defiance. In my vein and yet pulses the same hot blood that sent Lapu-Lapu to battle against the first invader of this land, that nerved Lacandula in the combat against the alien foe, that drove Diego Silang and the Buhoy into rebellion against the foreign oppressor. That seed is immortal. This is the same seed that flowered in the heart of Jose Rizal, that morning in Bagong Bayan, when a valley of shots put an end to all that was mortal to him and made his spirit deathless forever. The same that flowered in the heart of Bonifacio in Balitawa, of Gregorio del Pilar of Tirad Pass, of Antonio Luna at Talumpit, that bloom and flower of frustration in the sad heart of Emilio Aguinaldo at Palanan. And yet, burst forth royally again in the proud heart of Manuel L. Quezon, when I stood at last on the threshold of ancient Malacanang Palace, in the symbolic act of possession and racial vindication. The seed I bear within me is an immortal seed. This is the mark of my manhood. the symbol of dignity and human being, like the seed that were once buried in my tomb of Tutankhamen many thousand years ago. It shall grow and flower and bear fruit again. It is the insignia of my race and my generation, but is a stage of being an ending search of my people for freedom and happiness. I am a Filipino, child of the marriage of the East and the West. The East, with its labor of mysticism, its passivity and endurance, was my mother, and my sire was the West that came thundering across the seas and across sword and the machine. I am of the East, as eager participant in its spirit, in its struggles for liberation for the imperialist yoke, but I also know that the East must awake from its century sleep, shake off the lethargy that was bound his limbs, and start moving where destiny awaits. For too I am of the West, and the vigorous people of the West have destroyed forever the peace and quiet that once were ours. I can no longer live. A being part of those world now trembles the roar and bombs and cannon shots. I cannot say of matter of universal life and death, of freedom and slavery for all mankind, that it concerns me not. For no man and no nation is an island, but a part of the main. There is no longer any East and West, only individual and nations making those momentous choices, which are the hinges upon which history resolves. At the vanguard of progress, in this part of the world, I stand a forlorn figure, the eyes of some, but not one defeated and lost. For through the thick, interlacing branches of habit and custom above me, I have seen the light of the sun, and I know that it is good. I have seen the light of justice and equality and freedom. My heart has been lifted by the vision of democracy, and I shall not rest until my land and my people shall have seen, blessed by this, beyond the power of any man or nation to subvert or destroy. I am a Filipino, and this is my inheritance. What pledge shall I give that I may prove worthy for my inheritance? I shall give the pledge that has come ringing down the corridors for the centuries, and it shall be compounded of the joyous cries of my Malayan forebears when they saw the quarters of this land loom before their eyes. Of the battle cries have resounded, and every field of combat form, Mactan to Tirad Pass, of the voices of my people when they sing. Land of the morning, troubles are returning, near shall invaders trample thy sacred shore. Out of the flush green of the 7,000 isles, out of the heartstring of 16 million people, all vibrating to one song, I shall weave the mighty fabric of my pledge. Out of these songs of the farmers and sunrise when they go to labor and the field, out of the sweat of the hard-beaten pioneers in Malig and Coronagal, out of the silent endurance of stevedores and the pliers and the ominous grumbling of peasants in Pampanga, out of the first cries of babies newly born and lullabies that mothers sing, out of the crashing of gears and the whine of turbines in the factories, out of the crunch of plowshares upturning the earth, out of the limitless patience of teachers in the classrooms and doctors in the clinics, out of the trance of soldiers marching, I shall make the pattern of my pledge. I am a Filipino, born to freedom, and I shall not rest until freedom have been added into my inheritance for myself and my children and my children's children forever.